Here's a bunch of stuff you can do with mugwort. Turn it into hydrosol, tincture and alcohol, turn it into a salve, make a dream pillow, turn it into a nice, light, fluffy, pre-ground smoking blend, dry it and use it in tea or smoke it on its own, or you can make an oil infusion. Now, before we get into the rest of the video, I gotta give some safety information. First is to do your own research to be really sure you know what you're doing. But if you're pregnant or trying to get pregnant or nursing, mugwort is not for you. It can cause miscarriage. Mugwort contains thujone, which can be a neurotoxin, so you have to be especially careful with concentrates like the hydrosol or essential oil. They say people who are allergic to ragweed and I believe daisies as well are likely to have sensitivities to mugwort or an allergy to mugwort, so that's possible you can be allergic to it. And it's famous for making strong, vivid dreams, and some people have nightmares on mugwort and it really scares them and they swear it off and they never want to do it again. And everybody's body is different and responds differently, so that means the dosage is not one size fits all. You got to start small and be safe and work your way up using a very low amount at first and working up gradually till you know how you respond to mugwort. I've been working with it for years, since I was maybe 19 years old, and I'm 32 now, so I kind of take all that stuff for granted at this point, and I don't want you guys to do that if you're inexperienced. I started small and then I went way too big sometimes and sort of regretted it. So, be responsible is what I'm saying. Now, all these products can be used in different ways. The dried mugwort can be used in tea or put in a dream pillow or smoked. The advantage of dry mugwort is it's very versatile. The disadvantage is the terpenes aren't going to last very long. Even in the sealed jar here, you kind of want to preserve it in a tincture or an oil infusion or a salve, or I've even heard people say on here, freeze it or boil it in milk or steep it in warm milk and freeze that because it's lipophilic. And I've never tried that, but there's a lot of cool ideas you guys are sending me, and I'm learning a lot from you guys. So if you have any more cool mugwort ideas like that, leave them in the comments and I'll work on a new video and test them out myself. So my last video showed you how to find mugwort, and now here's how you're going to dry it once you found it. Alright, so I'm just using normal yarn right here, and you can see I have a fresh handful of newly picked mugwort. It's very easy. You just wrap it around like that. You can cinch it up a little bit and it'll hang on its own. You're going to let it dry for a couple of days. To take it off when it's dry, it's very easy to just untwist it and remove it. It's the best one I've ever seen. It's also the most sustainable. The other way is to use plastic nets and you cut them. That's actually faster. But with these, I've just tied these pieces of yarn up once, and they've just stayed up through many harvests and many drying sessions. And when I'm done, I'll just unhook them from the hooks on the ceiling. One very important thing is to have a fan going, and I've got this ceiling fan right here. And if I have a lot of mugwort, I also break out this small fan and blow it directly on the herb. I also have a window fan that circulates air. One side blows in and the other side blows out. But you're probably fine using just one fan. If you have an oscillating fan or something like that, that's probably enough to get the job done. And a dehumidifier doesn't hurt depending on where you are, but I don't use one, and I live in a pretty humid place and my herbs dry out just fine. Now, once your mugwort is dry, you're going to want to strip off all the leaves, which is very easy. I don't worry about small, tiny stems, just the main stem. In dry herb store mugwort, you're going to find most of what you're paying for is the stem weight, and it doesn't have nearly as much value as the leaves. Once you've harvested enough leaves off the stem, you're going to want to put it in an airtight container until you're ready to use it. So I got a jar stuffed full here, and it's so much nicer than what you're going to buy at the store. Now we're going to make some tea with it. I've been refining my tea making process, but the way I make it now is to just strip some fresh mugwort. It could be dry or freshly picked, as long as it's only recently dried in the past couple of months and still smells like mugwort. That means it's going to have the terpenes you need to get the effects of mugwort. And I'll boil that down for, you can throw in more than that. You have to experiment for yourself and find the right dose. You might want to throw in less than that too. But I'll boil that down for like 20 minutes or half an hour. And that gets the heavier fraction of the plant. And then I come in later with some fresh mugwort at the end, and that gives you the lighter fraction. So this that's boiling right now is going to get like the sesquiterpene lactones and phenolic compounds and the heavier stuff out of the leaves, but it's going to cook off the thujone and camphor and cineol and the light volatile monoterpenes that you want in the mugwort. So all we have to do to fix that is throw some fresh mugwort back in right at the end once it's below boiling and let it steep like normal tea for a couple of minutes. So I've killed the heat and let it get below boiling. Now I'll just add some fresh mugwort right at the end, stir it up, let that steep like normal tea for a couple of minutes before I drink it. So my favorite way to use that is drink a little right before bed, but even better is to leave some on the nightstand. And when I wake up at say 3 or 4 a.m. to go pee or something, I drink it and then go back to bed. And that's when I get my best results. But like I'm always saying, you gotta experiment and be careful and figure out what works for you. The dream pillow is just a bag that's breathable, stuffed with mugwort. Pretty good, but not too stuffed that restricts airflow. And if you've been watching this channel, you know how I feel about dried bulk mugwort from the herb store. It doesn't work. It's got to be fresh. This smells like a field. It smells like fresh monoterpenes. But if you've never tried fresh real mugwort before, I'm going to have these available for sale soon. And the way it's going to work is I'm going to go out and harvest twice a week and make these bags to order. So I'm not going to pick it until I get some orders. That way, when this bag is made for you, it's as fresh as possible, and you'll get a real honest chance at trying fresh, actual mugwort, which is not something you're going to find in a normal lucid dreaming pillow you buy on Etsy. They're going to cost $15 to $20. I've seen sometimes. They look beautiful, but you just know it's mugwort that's been sitting around for months. This is bespoke. This is for you. You order it, I pick it, I dry it, I stuff the bag, put it in a Ziploc bag to help preserve the terpenes, mail it off, and you're going to want to keep it in that Ziploc bag when you're not using it to make it last even longer. I don't know how long these are going to last because that depends on you and storage conditions, your sensitivity to it, all that type of stuff, but it's going to be real mugwort, and that's not something you're going to find anywhere else. I'm also using just natural cotton bags and no fancy packaging. So I'm going to pass those savings on to you. This is going to be $9. Like I said, usually you're paying $15, $20, $25. I've seen more than that. This is $9. Doesn't look good, but it's real. Now look at these light, thin muslin bags. I'm going to put that mugwort in here. And it looks like a dinner plate full was not enough. So we're going to keep going. Now look at that. I'm showing you in front of the lamp so you can see that the light doesn't really pass through. This is stuffed full with mugwort that is only freshly dried. So it still smells like mugwort, it still has all the terpenes. So I'm teaching you guys how to make all this stuff yourself for free. If you want to make it, this is how you do it. But if you'd like to buy one of these, it's going to be one of the first products I put up on my Etsy store. Now we'll talk a little bit about the tincturing process. Tincture is much like the tea. This is actually an empty bottle. I do have a bunch of tincture going in these glass jars though. But imagine this is full of tincture. You're going to use it like the tea. Dilute it in water because tinctures are strong. I use 95% alcohol, so you try to put that directly in your mouth, it doesn't feel good. Dilute it in water right before bed, or leave a little glass of it on your nightstand. And if you happen to wake up in the middle of the night, you drink it, go back to bed. Now to do a mugwort tincture, I fill up one of these jars and I stuff it so the mugwort is kind of packed in there. Not too tight, but it's not sitting loose either. I stuff it in and I fill it all the way up with ethanol. I use 95% ethanol. And then I put the lid on it. I write the date on top. and I shake it once a day. And after a day or two, the ethanol level dips as the plant absorbs more. I top it back up. Sometimes I have to top it up twice. And I keep it stored in a cool, dry place, in a dark place, for 40 days, just giving it a little shake once a day for 40 days. Then I pour out the liquid, put the herbs in a cheesecloth bag, squeeze them out, and extract all the alcohol I can to strain it from the herbs. And then I take the just alcohol with no solids left in it and one of these tincture bottles and a little funnel, and I fill up the tincture bottle with the tincture. And these tinctures are incredibly strong. If you're going to use any type of tincture at all, you got to be careful. Try to find as much information as you can. Go slow, start small. And specifically with mugwort, you should know it's an emmenagogue, which means it can kick off your menstrual cycle. It can also cause miscarriage, so don't take it if you're pregnant. Like I said, there's thujone in there, which is strong. So these aren't things to play with. These are things to be extremely cautious of. A very similar thing you can make is a mugwort oil infusion. This has olive oil in it, but someone gave me the great idea to use MCT oil, and I'll be doing that next. Unlike the tincture, this one is not stuffed. I just fill it up normally and I don't compress the mugwort. Then I cover it with olive oil or whatever oil you're using. It has to be fatty. And same thing, once a day, shake it, leave it in a cool, dry, dark place. But the biggest difference between the oil infusion and the alcohol tincture is that for the oil infusion, I use mugwort that's been drying for about a day or two, maybe 3, depending on the weather and how fast it's drying out. And once it's lost most of its water and some of the leaves are crunchy, but some are still flexible and a little bit wet, then I make the oil infusion because you want to keep the water out of the oil. But if you're using 90% alcohol or even vodka, but if you're using alcohol for tincturing, oftentimes tinctures are diluted to like 40 to 70% alcohol. And because I use 95% alcohol, the amount of water in the plant is not enough to dilute the alcohol or to cause microbial growth or anything like that. In fact, it's still so strong that I should probably be diluting the tincture after it's made. So for tincture, I use fresh mugwort like the day I harvest it, right in the alcohol. For oil infusion, give it a little time to dry, like I showed you, hanging on some string before you go ahead and do an oil infusion. And now I'll show you what you can do with this oil infusion. Now I'll show you how to make an herbal salve. So the salve you can put on your hands and feet or your temples is a popular spot, and then go to sleep. And that should get some of the monoterpenes into your bloodstream through your skin. It's not my favorite way to use mugwort, but it is one way that people use. So you gotta make a double boiler, which means getting some water boiling in a pan, then put a smaller pan or metal bowl inside of the double boiler, and that prevents this from getting any hotter than boiling water. Now what I'm about to do might look a little weird. I couldn't find fresh real beeswax today, but I could find a lip balm that's made out of beeswax, olive oil, and coconut oil. And all a salve is usually beeswax mixed with some type of oil, and that oil has been infused with some type of herb. So I'm going to use this as our beeswax and just put in slightly less oil than normal in the recipe. That way it doesn't get too oily. So you just heat up the oil and beeswax and stir it. So now I'm just going to take this liquid oil and beeswax and pour it into a container. So a common recipe is a 4-to-1 ratio, meaning 1 ounce of beeswax for 4 ounces of mugwort infused oil. And start with that. If it's too thin for you, add less oil or more beeswax. And if it's too thick for you, add more oil or subtract some beeswax. Now here's our salve, and there's a little on the rim. You can see it's a little bit thinner than I wanted, but I was just making this video for demonstration purposes, and you can put this on before bed and let it soak into your hands, and that is one way to consume mugwort. Most of you won't have the equipment to make a hydrosol or an essential oil but I'll give you a little insight into how that works. Now my still runs pretty loud, especially the fountain, so I've powered it off, but I was working on a mugwort extraction here using steam distillation. What we have in the bottom is essentially a decoction from refluxing, from moisture dripping back down into the boiler flask. But when the steam travels through the mugwort and up into the condenser and down into this funnel here, you can collect hydrosol and essential oil. Sadly, mugwort does not yield much essential oil, so this is a hydrosol made with fresh mugwort. The slight cloudiness, that's all the essential oil that's in there. It's just droplets. Other herbs that have higher yields will actually create a sheen or a few millimeters of oil that float on top. And this is very strong. It smells strong, tastes strong, almost burns your mouth, feels electric. There's not a whole lot of essential oil because mugwort doesn't contain a whole lot of essential oil, sadly. And for a little hobby still like this, it would take me forever to get a bottle of essential oil. But the hydrosol is very effective. I took like 2 drops of it and felt really weird. So I'm not going to sell this, and I would not recommend using it because there's a lot of thujone and it's just too concentrated. Like I said, 2 drops was too much for me, and I can normally take a lot of mugwort. So it's one way to use it, to extract it. I'm thinking of doing with the hydrosol is using it as a pillow spray. So you spray it on your pillow before bed, and I hope that's not too strong. But, you know, I got to do a little more research before I even let anyone else try that. This is the smoking blend here. It's very light and fluffy and burns very evenly, and it tastes really good. And I have a short on how to make it, and I'll just cut to that short real quick so you can get a recap on it. This powerful blend has its roots in folk magic, alchemy, and traditional herbalism. Most of our herbs are going to need to be ground up first. This allows for a smoother, cleaner draw later on. Most importantly, you need to sift out all of the woody stems until only light, fluffy, clean plant matter is left behind. You don't need to grind mugwort though, it's already fluffy enough. Just go ahead and get those stems out of there. If you've wildcrafted your mugwort, you should just get the leaves and don't leave the stems in the first place. The herb store loves to leave a bunch of wood chips in there, but we want the stuff that looks like this. You might have noticed that our recipe leaves 5% unaccounted for. That's so you can add a flavor of your choice. I like to use sage or lavender, but you could use passion flower, sweet gale, lemon balm, mint, rose petals, chamomile, whatever you like. The final product should look something like this. Man, that short really reminded me how much my production value has gone downhill in the last few videos, but it's because I moved to a new house and a new lab and I'm still getting situated. So that's it. If you want to buy the smoking blend fresh dried mugwort or the fresh mugwort dream pillow, the link will be in the description or below the video. And like I said, they're bespoke, so you order it and I will pick that mugwort for you and it will come to you as fresh as possible. So if you've never tried fresh mugwort before, now's your chance. It's only going to be available for about another month or so. And after that, the harvesting season is going to be winding down. Eventually, the tinctures and oil infusions and all that will also be on Etsy. I'm working on those as much as I can before the season is over. If you like this, please comment, subscribe, and share because it does help the channel. And my channel is taking off right now, which is great because it's giving me more motivation and ideally soon more time and money where I can dedicate more research and get better microphones. People complain about the sound. Anyway, if you want to help, those are the best ways to help. And like I said, I try to pass the savings on to you. I'm not trying to make a ton of money. I'm trying to give people the chance to try something real and not, depend on whatever crap is on the internet right now, which most of it sucks, frankly. And I want to create something good. All right, so thanks for watching.